Hey everyone, welcome back to Midnight Recaps. Imagine chasing your dream, only to end up trapped in someone else's nightmare. Tonight's nightmare is X 2022. The movie opens in 1979 at a quiet farmhouse that has suddenly become the scene of a brutal massacre. Sheriff Dentler arrives to investigate and immediately notices a body covered with a white sheet lying outside. Blood stains the porch, making it clear that something terrible happened here. As he steps inside, a deputy calls him over, warning that what's waiting in the house is even worse. One look is enough to leave the sheriff completely speechless. The story then rewinds 24 hours earlier to reveal how this nightmare began. We meet Maxine Minks, a young woman determined to become a star. She believes she's destined for something bigger and refuses to settle for an ordinary life. Along with her boyfriend and producer, Wayne, they set out for a secluded farmhouse outside Houston, Texas, where a small film crew plans to secretly shoot an adult movie called The Farmer's Daughter. Joining them are the film's director, RJ, his girlfriend Lorraine, who is handling the sound equipment, and the lead actors, Bobby Lynn and Jackson. During the drive, Wayne jokingly calls Lorraine Church Mouse because she's far more reserved than everyone else. Before reaching the property, the group stops at a gas station to fill up the van and buy supplies for the shoot. By the time they reach the farmhouse, the sun is already beginning to set. Wayne walks over to introduce himself to the property owner, Howard, but instead of a warm welcome, an elderly man points a rifle directly at him. After a tense moment, Howard remembers their phone conversation about renting the guest house and finally lowers the weapon. The crew unloads their equipment and starts settling in. As Maxine steps out of the van, she notices an elderly woman silently staring at her from the window of the main house. The woman's name is Pearl, Howard's wife, and there's something unsettling about the way she watches Maxine without saying a word. Howard then shows everyone where they'll be staying before leaving them to begin filming. A little later, before the cameras start rolling, Maxine wanders outside to get some fresh air. She spots Pearl standing alone and decides to introduce herself. Pearl warmly invites her inside for a drink, and the two begin talking. During their conversation, Pearl opens up about growing old. She quietly admits that age has taken almost everything from her, including the closeness she once shared with Howard. She says they haven't been intimate in a very long time, and it's obvious those memories still haunt her. Suddenly, Pearl hears Howard approaching the house. Before Maxine leaves, Pearl quickly asks her not to tell him they spoke, treating it like a secret between them. Maxine quietly slips away before Howard notices. Soon, the filming begins. The first scene features Jackson arriving at Bobby Lynn's house after his car supposedly breaks down. Their performance goes exactly as planned. Next comes Maxine's scene, where she plays Bobby Lynn's younger sister. As filming continues, Pearl secretly watches everything from a distance. Instead of looking disgusted, she seems strangely fascinated, unable to take her eyes off the young performers. That night, Pearl asks Howard if they'll ever make love again. Howard sadly refuses, explaining that his weak heart simply couldn't survive the strain. Back at the guest house, the crew relaxes after filming. Lorraine asks Wayne a question that's been bothering her all day. How can he possibly be comfortable watching his own girlfriend perform intimate scenes with another man? Wayne simply smiles and tells her that once the cameras start rolling, it's just business. To him, there's a clear difference between acting and real life. Not long afterward, Lorraine surprises everyone by announcing that she wants to appear in the movie herself instead of only recording sound. RJ immediately rejects the idea, but the rest of the crew supports Lorraine's decision. Realizing no one is on his side, RJ reluctantly agrees and films the scene anyway. Later that night, he stands alone in the shower, quietly breaking down in tears. Feeling betrayed, RJ decides he's had enough. And decide to leave, he starts the van and drives away without telling anyone, planning to abandon the crew completely. But before he gets far, he notices Pearl standing alone in the road. RJ immediately stops to help and gently offers to walk her back inside. First, Pearl seems grateful. Then everything changes. She suddenly makes an advance toward him, but RJ politely turns her down. Embarrassed and rejected, Pearl's expression changes instantly. Without warning, she pulls out a knife and plunges it straight into RJ's neck. Before RJ can even process what's happening, Pearl stabs him again and again until he finally dead. Blood splatters across the headlights. Back at the farmhouse, Lorraine notices RJ has been gone for quite some time and asks Wayne to check where he went. Wayne begins searching around the property. While walking barefoot, he accidentally steps on a rusty nail, slowing him down. Moments later, he hears a strange noise coming from one of the nearby buildings. Curious, he leans forward and peers through a small hole in the wooden wall. It's the last mistake he'll ever make. In a split second, Pearl drives a pitchfork straight through the opening, piercing Wayne directly through the eye. He dies instantly, without ever seeing the attack coming. Meanwhile, Lorraine steps outside hoping to find RJ, but instead she runs into Howard. Worried, she asks if he's seen her boyfriend. Howard calmly tells her that Pearl has gone missing and asks if she can help look for her. Pretending to need another light, Howard leads Lorraine into the main house and tells her to check the cellar. Trusting him, she heads downstairs. The moment she reaches the bottom, Howard quietly shuts the door and locks her inside. Panic immediately sets in. As Lorraine searches for another way out, she discovers the naked body of a man hanging inside the basement. Horrified, she screams and desperately pounds on the door, hoping someone will hear her. At the same time, Howard meets Jackson outside and asks him to help search for Pearl. The two walk toward the nearby lake, where Jackson notices a car sitting underwater. Confused, he turns around to ask Howard about it. Instead of answering, Howard tells Jackson he knows exactly what Pearl has been doing that night. Before Jackson can react, Howard raises his shotgun and fires straight into his chest. Back at the guest house, Pearl quietly slips into Maxine's bedroom while she's asleep. She gently touches Maxine's back, unknowingly smearing RJ's blood across her skin. Maxine suddenly wakes up and finds Pearl lying beside her. Startled, she lets out a terrified scream. Hearing the noise, Bobby Lynn rushes over to check on her. By then, Pearl has already wandered back outside. Noticing Jackson is nowhere to be found, Bobby Lynn goes looking for him. Instead, she spots Pearl toward the lake and follows her. Trying to be kind, Bobby Lynn offers to help Pearl back to the house. But Pearl suddenly lashes out, slapping her across the face. Consumed by jealousy, Pearl asks why Bobby gets to have youth, beauty, and attention while she has nothing left. Calling her a whore, Pearl shoves Bobby Lynn into the lake. Within seconds, an alligator attacks from beneath the water and drags Bobby Lynn under, killing her. Meanwhile, Lorraine refuses to give up. She finds an axe and starts hacking at the cellar door, hoping to break free before it's too late. Just as she's making progress, Howard catches her. Without hesitation, he swings his short gun onto her hand, severing one of her fingers and leaving Lorraine screaming in agony. Elsewhere, Maxine washes the blood off her body, still unaware of the nightmare unfolding around her. When she realizes everyone has disappeared, she begins searching for Wayne and the others. She spots Howard and Pearl returning together. With nowhere else to hide, Maxine sneaks into their bedroom and crawls underneath the bed. From her hiding place, she overhears the couple talking about the murders. Pearl admits she's obsessed with Maxine because she believes the young woman is special and represents everything she has lost. Trying to comfort his wife, Howard finally gives in to her wishes, and the two become intimate. Using the distraction, Maxine quietly slips out of the room and makes her way to the van. But the moment she reaches it, her heart sinks. One of the tires has been slashed, and lying nearby is RJ's lifeless body. Realizing she's trapped, Maxine quickly grabs Wayne's handgun from the glove compartment. Then she hears Lorraine screaming for help from inside the house. Maxine rushes to the cellar and unlocks the door, finally freeing Lorraine. Instead of thanking her, Lorraine blames Maxine for everything that's happened before running toward the exit. The moment Lorraine steps outside, Howard shoots her directly in the face. As he begins dragging her body away, Lorraine suddenly lets out one final cough. The unexpected sound startles Howard so badly that he suffers a fatal heart attack. Now only Pearl remains. Maxine points Wayne's gun at Pearl and demands the van keys. She then grabs the van key. As the confrontation unfolds, a television inside the house plays a sermon from a preacher searching for his missing daughter. Maxine unconsciously repeats his words, declaring, "I will have the life I deserve." She pulls the trigger. Nothing happens. The gun is empty. Pearl immediately fires Howard's shotgun, but the blast misses Maxine. The recoil is so powerful that it throws Pearl backward through the front doorway, leaving her with a broken hip. Unable to move, Pearl begs Maxine to help her. Maxine refuses. She climbs behind the wheel and starts the engine. As Pearl angrily calls her a whore, Maxine drives straight over her head. Not once, but twice, crushing it completely. The following morning, Sheriff Dentler and several officers arrive at the farmhouse to investigate the massacre. Inside, the preacher's sermon is still playing on the television, revealing that Maxine is actually his missing daughter, the woman he's been desperately trying to find. As officers search the property, one deputy discovers the camera the crew had been using to film their movie. Curious, he asks Sheriff Dentler what he thinks is recorded on the tape. Looking around at the horrifying scene, the sheriff quietly replies, "A goddamn fucked up horror show." That's the end of tonight's recap. What did you think of this movie? Let me know in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. If you're craving another terrifying story, tap the video on your screen right now. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one.